Good afternoon. As you all know, I have been tasked with preparing a presentation for you, the University of Alaska Press Board of Directors. Today I will be discussing the decision of, should the company move its headquarters to California or should it stay in Alaska? I appreciate that your time is very valuable, and I will do my best to keep this presentation to a minimum. There are many factors that influence the decision of this magnitude, but first, let's consider what facts are impacting this decision. Questions I would pose to this group are, why are we considering moving? What is the overall cost of the move? What are the consequences of laying off 1,000 people? Do we have a reliable source of materials and labor? Is there an adequate facility to house our operation? What will this move cost in severance pay? Will our current customers continue to support our brand if we relocate? Can we retain our core employees if we decide to relocate? What are we going to do with our production machinery? What costs will we incur replacing our equipment with a new facility? Is this a union company? Are we receiving any tax incentives from Alaska? And are there any available in California? What will be the cost of the recall and reproduction of our book line? I would also consider what are the alternatives, and in my opinion, we could create a marketing campaign to promote our line of books and create interest in new cities, states, and countries. Request a state tax incentive for our firm to keep the jobs in Alaska. Find an alternative location that will keep the company in Alaska. We currently offer our employees $20 an hour. We can reduce their hourly pay rate. Negotiate with suppliers to reduce production costs. Partner with an online retailer like Amazon to sell electronic copies of our material. Create a sister company in another state and offer positions to current employees with relocation benefits, with a new line of material that will expand our clientele. Find a new vendor to reduce production costs. Now that we have taken into consideration what facts and potential alternatives we need to ask ourselves, who are our stakeholders? Being that we are a smaller company, our primary shareholders are Alaskans, our employees, suppliers, and members of our community. An additional question to ask is how do the alternatives impact society as a whole? This question requires the hypothetical of both scenarios playing out. If we continue operating in Alaska, or if we decide to move our firm to California. It is my position that if we stay in Alaska, there is a potential to create new jobs by adding new positions to the marketing campaign. By reducing wages instead of eliminating jobs, we continue to infuse capital into the local economy. If the company moved to a city in Alaska such as Anchorage or Juneau that are hubs for major shipping companies, we would reduce our carbon footprint. Also, there would be less wear on our roadways. It would potentially create a work-from-home position for our ebook platform. If we are granted a tax incentive, we may be taking away from another state-funded program. If we outsource the marketing, we can support other local businesses. And if we decide to move to California, we would have to restaff, giving a boost to the local economy by creating jobs. Deprive readers of the Alaskan-inspired stories we create. If we can reduce the cost of production, we can pass the savings on to our customers, or the profit margins to our stakeholders. As an ethical company, we must ask ourselves, how will the alternatives impact the business firm? If we continue operations in Alaska, without change, our shareholders will not be receiving the maximum return on their investment. We'll be forced to negotiate with suppliers to reduce cost. We will potentially eliminate positions. If we reduce our pay rate, we may lose our core employees, vital to the daily operation of our firm. Our firm could be forced into bankruptcy if we create a second business and fail. If we move to another city in Alaska, we'll have to incur the cost of moving the operation. If we move to California, we may lose the Alaskan customer base, potentially increase profit margins. We would be required to pay out severance packages. We would need to hire and train new employees. The reduced pay may impact the quality of the product, resulting in a loss of sales. The new employees may not have the same cultural values we're accustomed to from our Alaskan employees, and would be required to find new machinery for the production process. So that arises the question, how do the alternatives impact me, the decision maker? If we continue to operate in Alaska, I would remain in the position of the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility. I will continue to work and live in Fairbanks. I would potentially take a pay cut to support the effort to reduce overhead. And I would lose the opportunity to experience a new culture and climate. If we do move our operation to California, I would relocate to California, incurring the expense of moving to a new area. I'd be forced to find a new school for my child. If the transition is successful, there's a great likelihood that I will receive an increase in salary. If my decision is unsuccessful, I will probably be terminated. What are the ethics of each alternative? Depending on how you make your decisions, from a utilitarian, libertarian, shareholder, rights, justice, or virtue theory, this will have the most influence on how you view the ethics of the given alternatives. A traditional shareholder would pursue the largest profit margin, so moving to California, where the minimum wage is significantly lower, will be the most ethical decision. Whereas someone from a virtue theory stance would argue that the company's values are to be considered before profit. The publishing company is an Alaska-themed firm that should stay in Alaska, even if it means creating a marginal loss of profit. What are the practical constraints of each alternative? If we continue operations in Alaska, we may experience smaller profit margins. We will be restricted to Alaska-themed media. We will have higher operating costs, and we will have a reduced customer base. If we move to California, we would need to find an adequate facility, replace equipment, hire and train employees. We may not have enough reserve capital. There may be environmental or regulatory concerns. We would be required to rebuild our customer base, and there would be the additional relocation costs. And finally, what course of action should be taken and how do we implement it? Given the fact of the separate scenarios, I believe it is in the best interest of the company to stay in Alaska. To offset production costs, we should reduce our minimum wage and renegotiate with our suppliers. Also, creating an ebook and partnering with moguls like Amazon to distribute our material will increase profit margins. This will have the effect of creating new jobs, reducing our overall production costs, and creating additional revenue stream for our stakeholders. Additionally, we should expand our production to include new material that will increase our client base, as opposed to recalling our current inventory and creating a new universally appealing line of books.